Behind the walls of the Hutchins unit in southern Dallas County, the inmates are afraid, and so are the correctional officers, worried that they will contract COVID-19.
I'm scared every day. I'm very, very scared.
This correctional officer asked us to conceal his identity. He's afraid he'll lose his job for speaking out about the conditions inside the prison. He and other correctional officers told us they are being required to wear the same mask for days, and sometimes weeks on end. They say the wardens tell them when they are allowed to replace them.
It's not good for anybody, both for the officers and the prisoners.
Right now, Hutchins is one of nearly 4 Texas prison units currently under lockdown because inmates and guards have tested positive for COVID-19. At least one inmate housed there has died. More than 30 employees have tested positive. 80 prisoners housed there have had or have the virus, including Amanda Moon's husband, Jerry Don.
Before I forget to tell you, I was the first one on this unit to test positive out of over 2,000 inmates.
She can't visit him, but she does get his letters.
They moved another guy in this small 8-man dungeon cell that I'm in. It's crazy because every time someone tests positive, the 14-day quarantine lockdown starts over.
They tell of life behind bars for both prisoners and guards during the COVID-19 outbreak.
An offender at Hutchins unit.
Amanda's husband called us from prison.
Hello.
Hey, JD, how are you?
I'm good, I guess. This is going to be one of the most traumatic experiences of my life, I'm not going to lie. There are a lot of people getting sick right now in Hutchins. They have 7 more people across the hall from me in quarantine that just tested positive again.
Well, how come you think it's spreading so fast?
When all this took place and they decided to hand all their officers masks, they should have as well given the inmates masks, and they didn't do any of that.
Statewide, more than 1,000 prison workers and 7,000 inmates have now tested positive for COVID-19. 7 prison workers have died, so have 46 inmates.
We've all got family, and I'm really afraid of what it might do to them.
This is another correctional officer from an East Texas unit who spoke to us. He's also concerned about being targeted for speaking out.
Offenders can't get it unless someone brings it in.
He and other correctional officers said one of their biggest concerns is the prison system continues to send them to work at multiple units, including units that aren't their regular assignment.
We shouldn't work one facility and then go back to work at another one and back and forth, back and forth.
According to Hutchins correctional officers, guards are routinely sent to work at the understaffed Michael unit located in East Texas.
Even the scientists have said you should limit your travel,
Correctional officers told us guards have been crammed together in a van like this to make the 3-hour round trip.
The driver that drove them, they now discovered that he had COVID-19.
Prison spokesman Jeremy Diesel confirmed the driver of one of the vans did test positive. However, he says the vans are limited to 4 people, including the driver. Still, correctional officers say dozens of Hutchins employees have been reprimanded for refusing to go to the understaffed unit. WFAA obtained one of those reprimands. It says you were instructed to travel to Michael unit. You refused to do so.
I've told them I'm not going anywhere.
Correctional officers aren't the only ones who were moved around by the prison system late into the pandemic. It wasn't until April 13th that the prison system stopped accepting all county prisoners from across Texas. That's more than 2 weeks after the first inmate tested positive.
Movement of officers, movement of inmates, this should have ceased early.
Lance Lowry is a spokesman for the Correctional Officers Association of Texas.
You don't have social distancing in prisons.
Prison spokesman Jeremy Diesel defended the practice of sending officers to work at different units.
Correctional officers that I know are a hardy bunch and a group that are determined to make sure that they're providing the best service that they can provide to the citizens of the state of Texas.
Still, even TDCJ's COVID-19 policy says, if possible, staff should be assigned to a single facility with limited assignments to other facilities only when necessary to provide essential safety, security, and services.
Correctional officers are assigned to whatever unit that they are assigned for that day.
Diesel said there are no plans to stop the practice. But moving people isn't the only concern. Correctional officers we spoke to said that well into late March they were being discouraged from wearing masks.
Administrators were telling officers not to wear masks, that they might scare the inmate population.
What's your reaction to that?
Total ignorance. discussed. They put officers' lives in danger, and officers have died. Officers are sick. Officers are hooked up to ventilators right now. Total incompetency.
In Galveston, where the state's sickest prisoners go, a guard told us they worry about their personal protective equipment.
We're putting our lives on the line every day for this agency, and the agency is not taking care of us.
She also asked us to conceal her identity. She told us they are short-staffed, and some correctional officers have used the same N95 mask for up to a month.
We're doing a job that nobody else wants to do. We deserve to be taken care of.
Diesel, the agency's spokesman, told us correctional officers have been provided the proper personal protective equipment to do their jobs.
I know that we have significant quantities of all types of PPE that are not only available at the unit level, but available for medical personnel and are stockpiled as well.
At Governor Greg Abbott's direction, the prison system has now begun widespread testing, more than a month after the outbreak began in the prison system.
We have a culture that does not like to change and is resistant to change, and you cannot be resistant to change in circumstances like this.
In Dallas, I'm Tanya Iser.